Star Trek Voyager abandoning Year of Hell's original ending was a huge mistake. Star Trek Voyager originally had a better ending for its famous episode, Year of Hell, but unfortunately abandoned it in favor of something more anticlimactic. Year of Hell is often considered one of Voyager's best episodes, if not the best episode of the entire series. Airing towards the beginning of Season 4, Year of Hell featured a dark premise that saw Captain Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and the crew of the USS Voyager contending with a series of brutal attacks by Annorax, Kurtwood Smith, of the Krenim Imperium. Annorax was a formidable villain with the ability to manipulate timelines, hell-bent on changing the past to reverse the death of his wife. Once he and Voyager's cast of characters began fighting, Janeway stopped at nothing to take him down. This included the episode's ending when Janeway sacrificed herself by crashing Voyager into Annorax's ship, resetting the timeline and erasing all the events of the episode in the process. This put Voyager's crew back where they had been at the beginning, and Annorax back with his wife on the colony where they lived with no memory of what had transpired. Star Trek Voyager abandoned its original ending for the Year of Hell two-parter. While Janeway's sacrifice at the end of Year of Hell was certainly dramatic, the episode originally had an ending that would have preserved some of the crew's memories and been much less happy for Annorax. In an interview with Cinefantastic, Voyager writer Joe Menosky discussed the episode's writing process and detailed a much more interesting ending for Year of Hell, one that was ultimately shot down by Star Trek executive producer Rick Berman because it was deemed to be too narratively complicated. Read Menosky's full quote below. "I wanted at least a couple of people to know what had happened. We actually wrote this ending even though we didn't shoot it. Where time is reset, the weapon is gone, we know what has happened to us through some complication I can't even remember." When we meet up with the next Krenim, Chakotay asks offhand, "Have you got a colony called Kiana Prime?" And the guy says, "Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about." The idea was that time had in fact in some ways punished Annorax. Everything was reset except that. That was denied him, so it was this great, final, tragic moment. In some ways, it makes sense why Berman voted for the more simplistic ending of Janeway fully resetting the timeline. Menosky's vagueness about how everyone was aware of what had happened to them during Year of Hell's original ending shows that Voyager's creative team didn't have a concrete reason for the crew maintaining their memories after the timeline reset. A hand-waved explanation for this might have made the episode's conclusion feel unfinished. However, the ending that Year of Hell chose instead unfortunately committed an even greater narrative sin. Despite the vague and slash or complicated time travel implications that Year of Hell's original ending had, having the crew remember what had happened to them would have at least stopped the episode from falling into the "it was all just a dream" trope. This trope, also sometimes called the reset button, is arguably one of the laziest writing mechanics in history. It undermines the plot of whatever story it is employed in, and in Voyager's case, making it so the crew remembered nothing cheapened their experiences and made Year of Hell feel like everything they had been through had meant nothing. Along with the fact that having the crew remember Year of Hell would have been more narratively satisfying, Annorax getting his just desserts to close out the episode would have been well-deserved. Annorax is often considered one of Voyager's best villains, and any great villain often deserves an equally great downfall. Having Annorax get everything he wanted by the end of the episode wasn't in keeping with the punishment he deserved for the temporal crimes he committed and everything he had put Star Trek Voyager's crew through. Ultimately, Year of Hell's ending was contrived, tainting the episode's otherwise great legacy. In the vast realm of Star Trek lore, few episodes of Star Trek Voyager left as lasting an impression as the two-part saga, Year of Hell. Its dark, character-driven narrative explored themes of loss, sacrifice, and resilience, setting it apart from many of the other episodes in the series. However, the ending of Year of Hell, where the crew's grueling year is erased by a reset button, remains one of the most controversial narrative decisions in Star Trek history. Many fans and critics alike argue that abandoning the original, more complex ending was a huge mistake that squandered the opportunity to craft a truly unforgettable arc in the Voyager saga. To understand why this decision was so pivotal, one must first look at the sheer potential that Year of Hell had. The story follows Voyager as it encounters the Krenim, a species led by the obsessed temporal scientist Annorax, who manipulates time to restore his lost empire. In the process, Voyager is caught in the crossfire, leading to the titular Year of Hell, where the ship and crew are pushed to the brink of destruction. Captain Janeway's command is tested as never before, the crew suffers heavy casualties, and Voyager itself is gradually torn apart, a symbol of their struggle to survive. This setup gave Voyager a rare opportunity to explore long-term consequences for the crew, something that was often lacking in the series due to its largely episodic format. Unlike Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which embraced serialized storytelling with the Dominion War, Voyager often reset the status quo at the end of each episode, leaving little room for deep, evolving character arcs. Year of Hell could have broken this mold, offering a more serialized narrative where the crew's journey was permanently altered by their ordeal. In fact, the original concept for Year of Hell was reportedly meant to span an entire season. This would have allowed the show to dive deeper into the crew's emotional and physical deterioration as they faced impossible odds. A season-long arc could have explored Janeway's isolation as captain, the strain on the crew's relationships, and the growing sense of hopelessness as they watched their ship and their chances of survival slowly crumble. Such an arc would have been groundbreaking for Voyager, creating a narrative with real stakes and consequences. Instead, the episode ends with a temporal reset that undoes all the damage and loss the crew endured. While this reset button ending was a common trope in Star Trek and sci-fi more broadly, its use here felt particularly unsatisfying. The year of suffering and sacrifice is wiped away, leaving the crew with no memory of their ordeal and no lasting impact on their characters or the overall story. It was as if the emotional weight of the episode had been erased along with the timeline. Abandoning the original, more ambitious ending was a huge mistake because it robbed the show of the opportunity to evolve its characters in a meaningful way. The entire premise of Voyager, a lone ship stranded far from home, struggling to survive and find its way back to Earth, was filled with potential for rich, character-driven storytelling. Yet, time and again, the series reset its characters to their default settings at the end of each episode, missing out on the kind of long-term development that made other Star Trek series like Deep Space Nine so beloved. Had Year of Hell followed through on its original concept, it could have been a defining moment for Voyager. The crew would have been forever changed by their experiences, with lasting consequences that would have carried over into subsequent episodes. Janeway, in particular, could have been given a more nuanced character arc, grappling with the trauma of the year-long ordeal and the decisions she had to make to keep her crew alive. The relationship between Tuvok and Seven of Nine, which showed signs of deepening in the episode, could have been further explored, as could the toll the event took on characters like Chakotay, Paris, and Torres. Furthermore, Anorax, the Krenim scientist, was one of the most compelling antagonists Voyager ever introduced. His tragic backstory, where he accidentally erased his wife from existence in his quest to manipulate time, made him a sympathetic villain with complex motivations. Had Year of Hell been stretched out over a season, Anorax could have become a recurring adversary, with his relationship to Janeway and the crew deepening as they sought to undo his damage while navigating their own deteriorating situation. The decision to wrap up Year of Hell in just 2 episodes with a clean temporal reset